Hello, I'm Dr. Annadale, and our text today is Zarathustra's Prologue from Nietzsche's philosophical novel of the 1870s, Thus Spake Zarathustra. The prologue falls into 10 sections, and I'll talk briefly about the content of each section and offer a few questions and comments along the way. The most important of the sections are sections 3, 4, and 5, and these are worth reading several times to try to understand the key points about the Overman and about the last man that Nietzsche is making. In section 1, Zarathustra wakes up in his cave, and he goes down from his cave to speak to the people of the village, and along the way he talks to the sun. In section 2, Zarathustra meets an old man, an old hermit, or saint, who discourages him from going into the village. The saint says, "Don't go into the village, stay here in the wilderness with me. We can pray and sing hymns and to praise God together." Nietzsche humors the hermit, but as he's leaving he says to himself, how very strange that this old man doesn't know yet that God is dead. So here we have the iteration again of this phrase, God is dead, that has appeared in Nietzsche's other writings. My question for you, what view of Christianity is implied here? In Zarathustra's first encounter, after leaving his solitude, he meets up with a representative of Christianity, but not in the village, not among the people, living a solitary life and discouraging Zarathustra from going into the village. So what's the idea of Christianity with which Nietzsche begins this prologue? Section 3, Zarathustra goes into the town and begins teaching the people about the Overman. As it turns out, they're not going to listen, they're not going to understand him, but he says many things about the Overman that are worth paying careful attention to. Among many other things, he says the Overman is the meaning of the earth. He says the Overman is the sea in which the contempt of the human race can be absorbed and diluted. He says the Overman is the lightning and the frenzy. As he's giving all these teachings, these and many others, people misunderstand him. They think that he is some kind of carnival barker who's trying to drum up business for the tightrope walker who's about to appear. So section 3 ends with everybody looking up to see the tightrope walker perform. In section 3, Zarathustra speaks again of the Overman in some detail. This is worth looking at on your own to try to get a full characterization of the Overman. In section 5, since Zarathustra cannot get the people to listen to him or react to him when he speaks of the Overman, he decides to change tactics. He says, I'll speak to them of the most contemptible thing, that is, the last man, a being so despicable that he's even lost the ability to despise himself. This is the last man. We're told many things about the last man, and again, pay careful attention to just what exactly Nietzsche says about him. He says that the last man makes everything small. He talks about the last man blinking a lot. The last man will say something, and then they will blink. And this is meant to suggest a kind of complacency. The last man has a kind of cow-like face. He says something, and then what more is there to say? He has a kind of a bland stupidity on his face, and that's represented by the blinking. What else is the last man like? A question to carry forward. What is it about the last man that makes him despicable? And why don't the last men know that they are despicable? Why don't they recognize this about themselves? Section 6. The tightrope walker plummets to his death. While he's performing, a clown comes out onto the tightrope, a buffoon, brightly dressed. There's an altercation between them, some speech, some struggling, as a result of which the tightrope walker falls off the tightrope and plummets to his death, landing on the ground right next to Zarathustra, who doesn't look away. He just watches him fall all the way to the ground. They two exchange words very briefly while the tightrope walker is dying. And my next question for you, what is it that Zarathustra praises and finds praiseworthy about the life and death of the tightrope walker? Why is it that he promises to bury him with his own hands? Sections 7 and 8 involve Zarathustra carrying the dead man out of the city with him. He has some encounters with people along the way, which I won't comment on right now. Sections 9 and 10, Zarathustra talks of seeking companions. He speaks of companions who will break up the tables of values. And I'll invite you to reflect on what kind of ethical significance does this have? What does this say about Nietzsche's theory of ethics? That Zarathustra is seeking companions who will break up the tables of values and be the creators of new values. At the end of section 10, Zarathustra sets out to find more people to teach, but not in the village, not groups of people anymore, but he says solitary people, people in ones and twos are the people whom he'll speak to. This will be very important for our understanding of Nietzsche and what Nietzsche is trying to do in his work overall. That concludes my commentary on Zarathustra's Prologue. I look forward to speaking with you. If you are just watching on YouTube, please feel free to leave a comment or send me an email. Thanks very much. Goodbye.